Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new episode of the Anglo-Italian pod. I'm Tommaso, joined by my usual co-host,
Ruairi, here I am.
And by friend of the show. I'll let you introduce yourself, Andy.
Yeah, my name's Andy from the, I said almost Anglo-Italian pod. It's been a long day. Feel like a part of the team now. I haven't done a transfer, I promise. I'm not putting in a transfer request. No, I'm from the Hopeless Wandere pod. And it's a pleasure to be on as a guest.
As always, we are live on Twitch and YouTube because it's Monday night at 8 p.m. Central European Time. But of course, you might as well be listening to us on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or any other day of the week. Guys, next week, we're waiting for you live on Monday night. You can find us on Twitter at Italian Anglopod. You can find us on Instagram at Anglo-Italian Pod. And you should also give a follow to our sponsor at Sports Club Maps. You can find them both on Twitter and Instagram. And talking about social media, Rory, there is a big news that came through today when we were chilling together.
Yeah, that was incredible. Yesterday, we were all sat watching the game together and a notification came up. Zenit St. Petersburg English followed you back. I was like, oh shit. I retweeted one of their tweets. They followed us back and we had a little bit of an exchange. So I am happy to announce that Zenit St. Petersburg are now the official Russian team of the pod. And as if their weekend wasn't good enough by following us, they also managed to beat Spartak Moscow 7-1 this weekend. So not the only team to get 7. They've had a great weekend all round. So welcome Zenit St. Petersburg. Hopefully soon there'll be a shirt hanging up kind of around here. That'll be a Zenit shirt, hopefully.
And I see from the stream chat that after almost 6 months, I want to say, a friend of the show is back. It's Chris Hamilton. And it's kind of fitting that you're back today, Chris, because I think that we're going to cover your team's deeds right away. So we've got Chris, the supporter for Liverpool, and Andy live with us. And you support Manchester United, correct, Andy?
Correct.
So before we start, I want to apologize in hindsight. I was drinking a little bit of beer, and at the 2-0, I thought it would be a good idea to FaceTime our friend Bryce from Chicago. He's a Manchester United supporter, as you guys know. He was cool with us because he's a friend, but then I didn't call him again after the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So I was here at home with Rory. We actually tried something pretty fun. We had the Rory's dog meet my cat. That didn't go greatly, but in the end, what did you think of that whole exchange, Rory?
It was a fascinating study into animal psychology whilst trying to watch 3 football games at the same time. I don't know. It was a bit... I thought it would go better, but, it wasn't as bad as United's performance. It didn't go that badly. So
exactly. So, Andy, can you tell us your story? Where were you yesterday? What thoughts went through your head as you saw that unfold?
I mean, I was in the pub and I was literally saying, I was with a friend who is a Liverpool fan, and I was just we discussed it before the game. I was like, I wasn't necessarily expecting to win because Liverpool have been really good form of late, and we, fair to say, haven't. And I was thinking, right, in these kind of games, Ole last season would have just sat back and gone, right, we're going to grind out a 0-0 draw, maybe get one on the counter. And I think, given the circumstances, it won't have been particularly pretty. But I think United fans would have taken that. But that all went to pot in the first 5 minutes, basically. And it's just some of the defending is just absolutely comical. I mean, the tone was set from the word go. You had Shaw and Maguire crashing into each other. You had the point where on the breakaway, you had 4 Liverpool players and 1 Manchester United defender in front of them. And you think, well, 4-on-1's not going to go, is it? And it was just so easy to play through because, Liverpool knew when to press. We were getting this because we have this insistence on playing out from the back, but with no real idea or set plan of, right, if we're going to play from the back, what passing moves are we going to make to progress it into midfield? And then when it goes into midfield, how are we going to get it into attack? And it just essentially just seems to be, we seem to be operating on vibes. Because, nobody can really tell what is Manchester United's style. And I think journalists have been asking, Ole in press conferences, and they've not really been given the best of responses. Yeah, and it's just, I think the game overall just showed how outcoached Manchester United are, because there's only so far you can get just by having better players. But, we were saying just before we went on air that, especially this season, Brentford look a better coach outfit than we do, and they've just come up from the Championship. It's just, I think Ole's done a lot of good work in, making United finishing the Champions League places consistently, because that's also what the Glazers want. They're not asked about winning trophies. What they are asked about is finishing top 4 year in, year out. So to that degree, he's done his job. It's a very, people forget how toxic the environment was when Mourinho was still there. And we all know what happens when Mourinho gets pissed off. He just burns it to the ground. So in some respects, he's done a good job off the pitch, but that performance has been coming, that result rather has been coming for a good couple of months. All that's happened is that the results have caught up with the performances. If you look at the games that United have played this season, we were taken apart by Wolves for most of the first half. We played against them and we're lucky to get a result. We're some very good goalkeeping away from being beaten by Southampton and Everton. And what's happened is that the quality of opposition has slowly stepped up. Even against Atalanta, and Paul Scholes called it.
I was going to say.
If we play, he literally said, if we played that way against Liverpool, we'd be 4-0 down by half time, and funnily enough, we were. And when you look at that Atalanta game, they were without, apart from Demiral, who was excellent on the night. And to be honest, I'm not overly confident we would have got the result had he stayed on the pitch. They were without the first choice wing backs, other first choice centre backs. Like, they were quite depleted. I think had they had their full squad up, we might have struggled. And we're just so easy to play through because,
Well,
go on.
No, the thing I wanted there was two things I wanted to point out. You're right. The formation, I think the formation that you played, this 4-2-4, seemed to me incredibly naive at best. And also what struck me was how United players, you'd get 2 United players marking the same Liverpool player, or 3 players pressing the same player and leaving 3 other players open. I think you're right, just the lack of coaching there. But do you think that Ole is now starting to reverse the good work he has done? Like, if he continues, will all this progress be lost? Because all of a sudden you're relying on De Gea again. The change room atmosphere is not great. Like, there's big name players that aren't fitting into a system. Like, does it feel like he's starting to reverse that again? Or
and I think and obviously it always happens when teams doing badly. What's more damning is that stuff is coming out of the dressing room now. There's dressing room sources going to the media. Obviously, we don't know who those dressing room sources are, but for the benefit of the tape, we'll call them Donny.
Can we give him a last name as well? Can we say he's Dutch? Can we picture that he comes from the Netherlands and he's blonde?
Let's just say for the benefit, he's like a very unhappy Dutch fella.
That's out of it is fiction, guys. It's not.
It's completely fiction. Like, I genuinely don't know who these sources are, but you can speculate who they might be. And I think the other one might be some French fella. We'll call him Peter or something.
Let's call him Paul van de Beek. Let's say his name is Paul van de Beek.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
Like I said, who knows at this stage, but I think some of these players, you've got some of these players who aren't being given the chance. But looking at some of these, and I think whether it's true or not, we don't know. But some reports coming out today, there seems to be the British players, if you like, are quite behind Ole. And I think everybody in the squad agrees that Ole's a lovely fella. And a lot of people say that he is a really nice guy. And what he's done for the club as a player, it's been absolutely exceptional. And he's done an okay job as manager, but I think he's definitely hit the ceiling, and I think the players have seen that as well. I feel if Van der Beek was on the bench because he had 2, 3, 4 midfielders playing better than he is, then you go, well, fair enough. There's people in better form at the moment, but you could argue that, Tellez deserves a look in after Luke Shaw's performances over the past few weeks, especially when you look at the banger he scored in the Champions League at Villarreal. And he hasn't played a minute since. You've got Van der Beek, who can't get a game over Fred and McTominay. And they're being brought in to provide defensive stability, but they're not even doing that anymore. No. So if they're not providing defensive stability in front of a back four, then what are they doing there? Matic is too slow to hack the Premier League. I should have really been moved on by now, but that's a separate issue altogether. So you've got these players not starting and going, well, what's going on? And same with Sancho as well.
He must be thinking, as our friend Chris suggests, he must be thinking, what the actual fuck?
Yeah, and I'm looking at what he does. I'm looking at what he did for Dortmund. I don't even think he's necessarily playing that badly. It's just he's one of those give and go players. You see him give the ball to somebody, he makes a run, but that pass doesn't come back, and you're thinking, surely you'd be doing that on a training pitch. And if you aren't going to play to someone's strength, why are you spending £70 million on them? So I think there's that side of it that's wrong at the moment. But
look, Andy, I'm going to jump in really quick. I just wanted to say, and you'll tell me if you agree with me or not. Then we also have to praise Liverpool, because I think their game.
Yeah, we do have to talk about Liverpool as well.
But I think at a point, and I wanted to tell Rory, if it wasn't for all the beer that we've had yesterday, but at a point, I was about to say, this is right before the 3-0 comes in. I was about to say, well, we all know that Liverpool are good with the ball, but it's actually much easier for them because Manchester United movements are dictating the passes that Liverpool need to make. And you saw it so many times where there was that blatant example on the Naby Keita's goal where Salah just had to wait. Just wait 2 seconds. He could have gone on his own, but then there are the defenders not having a clue of what they're doing and opening up a pass, like a passing line for Salah to Naby Keita. And that happened over and over again. This absolutely cluelessness, I would say, about what's going on and the movements make. Then the other thing that I want to say is that Paul Scholes said it exactly. He said, if everybody was so happy after the game with Atalanta and cheering so much, then just play the identical same way against Liverpool and we will see what happens. And the Scholes in the studio yesterday, we watched all of the interviews. He looked, if he could have spoken his mind, like if he could have said what he was actually thinking, I think he would have been cancelled from television for the rest of his life, because he said 1% of what he was really feeling. And about Liverpool, I just have to say that I fucking love it, man. Like, from being, and I'm an outsider, I like things about Arsenal. I like things about United. But one thing that I have to say about Liverpool, especially after doing that episode about the great manager Bill Shankly, they just felt like a hard-working team. And as Steve highlighted, it was team versus individuals. I love the Salah's post on Instagram. He said it's very easy to get a win like that when you play as a team. And it was beautiful to watch. And I think that after a silent summer, as we've said, after a very quiet summer, they've put on the hard work that Klopp's teams know that they need to put on to achieve these results, and they're just delivering. And it's beautiful to watch. There is no opposition that their knees tremble in front of. They're just like up there with Bayern Munich this season, and I think they're there to take it all, both domestically and continentally. But we shall see. What do you think,
Well, this
Rory?
is it. And I think the players that have really stood out for them are, like, for example, Naby Keita. Now, he had a really slow start to his Liverpool career. And I think a lot of Liverpool fans were thinking, oh, we got a bit of a busted flush here, mate. It's not working. He had like injuries in and out of the team. And then now he's come in, and the way he was like winning the ball, the runs from midfield, his passing, he really has like become this huge player for them, and obviously the player that Klopp wanted him to be the whole time. And I think we've talked about it before, but the way the players have stepped up for Klopp, the likes of like Curtis Jones and Nat Phillips and these kind of fringe players, all of a sudden their squad looks incredibly strong again. And Salah is playing the best football of his career. Like, we've never seen him this good.
Agreed. 100%.
Like 10 goals in 10 games and dribbling around 15 players a match. Like, the guy is unbelievable. I think it's we were all a bit too quick to write them off, I think, possibly.
But I have a question. I have a question for Andrew. Andrew, do you think that Manchester United's solution starts with an A and finishes in Fonte, in your opinion?
An A in the what?
It starts, I read it today. It starts with an A. It's a name that starts with an A and finishes in Fonte, Onte.
Oh, Conte. You know what? It took me a minute then.
Sorry, it was subtle. I agree.
But no, it's I think it's looking like at the moment, I think Ole is going to get the job. I think. And it's United have shown in previous seasons, like Jose Mourinho was sacked a couple of days after a bad defeat to Liverpool. David Moyes was sacked a couple of days after a bad defeat to Liverpool. And the only reason Louis van Gaal wasn't sacked because he thankfully always got results against Liverpool. But yeah, I think it is worth saying, though, I think as much as I can complain about Manchester United, I think Liverpool were fantastic on the day. You've got to give them credit. I mean, you had like Jordan Henderson putting in fucking Xavi-like through balls. Like that's
that
how
pass
good.
was.
I mean,
insane.
And they said it on Match of the Day. Had De Bruyne made that kind of pass, we'd all been, salivating over it. And I think, sometimes you just got to go, well, they're obviously the better team and we helped them. But in terms of the managerial side of things, I think assuming that the rumours are true that Ole's on his way out, then I think Conte, would be a good solution. I think a lot of people, and you know what, I've gone around the whole roller coaster of it. Admittedly, a few weeks ago, I was just like, no, he doesn't fit our system. He'll clash with the board. But I think, you know what? Fine. If he clashes with the board, he'll just show him up for the incompetent dickheads that they are. Because they're the real issue at the club. That's part of it. And also the other side of it as well is you look at what he did for, obviously you two will know more than I would, but you look at what he did for the Inter team. They're exciting to watch. He scored the most goals. He turned Lukaku into one of the best number 9s in the world. Like, he could improve players, and I think more importantly, he's a training ground coach. He will be on the training pitch 8 or 9 hours a day, drilling those players into playing a set system. And I think everyone typifies his time at Chelsea as that, he's not going to turn Jadon Sancho into a wing back. He will adapt to the players that are there. But what I think you'll probably agree with is that he will have a system in place that is.
And the first thing
defined.
he's going to do, I'm ready to bet money on this one. If the first thing he's going to do if he gets to United is to play Van de Beek as a starter, because knowing Van de Beek and knowing Antonio Conte, they're a match made in heaven. If Van de Beek still is the player that I remember at Ajax, because I haven't seen that much of him over the past year or so. But we shall see. What are the other, very quickly before we move on to the other Premier League games, but what are the big names in United's list to replace Ole, if there are any?
I think the other names that are on the list are probably the ones that aren't attainable at the moment. So Pochettino has always been linked with Manchester United, but he's at PSG at the moment. So I don't really see him leaving until at least the end of the season. I think in terms of culture, I think Ajax are running on very similar principles to how Manchester United are in terms of, Manchester United have had a youth team player on the bench or in the starting 11 since the 50s, every single match day squad. Promoting youth is as big as part of their policy is buying in new players. And I think if you're to bring in someone like Ten Hag, he would play a style of football that would be appealing to the Manchester United fans. And if you brought in Overmars and, go full hog, bring in Overmars, bring in Van der Sar, who's already got connection to the club. That'll be a root and branch. You have football people in football positions, and I think that'll be a good way of going about it. So they're the sort of main names. I think people have talked about Zidane, but for what I understand, Zidane has no interest in English football whatsoever. He never had any interest in English football as a player, and I don't think he does as a manager. And also, as well, I think his skill set at Madrid was handling the big personalities and getting the most out of them. Because when you have a midfielder of Kroos, Modric, and Casemiro, you don't really need to do much coaching on the pitch. You just need to keep them happy, basically. And I think Manchester United needs some, just from proper training ground coaches. That's where I think the likes of Pochettino, Ten Hag, and Conte. I think Conte stands out because he's available now. Looking at some of obviously Chris's comments, Donny van de Beek, I think, is a better footballer than Fred.
Mm-hmm. Chris, by the way, guys, that you're listening on the pod and on any other day of the week, our friend Chris, Liverpool supporter, is going crazy on the chat.
Like
he
8
cannot
comments
be
in a row
stopped.
now.
He's catching up with everything he hasn't said over the last month. But guys, we need to move on from United. And you were talking about great managers, just like the one that trains Arsenal, who were able to win 3-1 at home against Aston Villa. What an incredible result for the Gunners, who are now on the A side of the standings. Rory, let's not sleep on this one. Come on.
We are unbeaten in 8 games with Ramsdale in goal. Massive signing. And that is a game that last year we lose. That is a game that we lose last year. And this year, that is our best performance across 90 minutes. I think that 45 minutes against Tottenham, that was the best we've played. But for 90 minutes, we actually played like a cohesive, sensible team. And it was beautiful to watch. That being said, Aston Villa were absolutely terrible. And that did help.
Did you watch that game, Andy?
I saw some of the highlights of it. And I think Arsenal were dominant from start to finish. I think they are slowly kicking into gear. And I think, I'll hold my hands up and go, I was probably a bit wrong about Ramsdale, because on the Hopeless pod, me and Craig were like, seriously, you're spending 25 million quid on somebody who's not even better than Leno. And I think, maybe we did him a bit of a disservice, because some of his distribution as well. I think there was one clip where it was almost, that's the sort of stuff you expect from Ederson. It's just a zipper of a pass straight to the wings, pinpoint. Most outfield players will be proud of that. And I think he does give them a bit of a different dimension. Like, he's very confident, he's very vocal, and maybe he's just been unfortunate because he's been playing an absolute dross with Bournemouth and Sheffield United. Maybe he's just been made to look worse than he actually is. But, you could argue on form at the moment that he should be England's number one. I'm convinced that Pickford has got Southgate's nudes knocking.
I'm not sure how he's still getting picked at all. I was thinking it this weekend. I was like, how is he not England's number one yet? And although realizing I'm massively biased, but no, I think I've seen him referred to as the Brexit Ederson by Arsenal fans. So they are starting to like his distribution is fantastic. He has been. Like, when we signed him, I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to slag him off. I was like, let's see how it goes, because he has played for 2 shite teams, and he's been unbelievable since he's come in. And I think now we're starting to see, like, Smith Rowe is really growing into the team. That guy, like, if he's got space in front of him.
What a goal.
Yeah, if he's got space in front of him, you're not catching him. He's gone. Like, him and Saka together are great. I think the thing I keep saying is I can see the green shoots. Like, there's going to be shit performances and shit results throughout this season, but I can see that there's something there. There is something there.
Our friend Steve is hinting that the match against the Foxes on October 30th is going to be the real test to see where Arsenal are. Do you agree, Rory?
Yeah, I think so. The 2 games we had against the big sides previously, Chelsea and City, we have since seen that they were not our first 11s, and that's not the team that Arteta wanted. So I think as bad as both of those games were, and they were terrible, they're not really the Arsenal team. So yeah, I think with this being Arteta's 11 now, this is the chance. And I like the fact that he switched to a 4-4-2, and it meant that we could play Aubameyang and Lacazette both up front, and their partnership together is incredible. And just seeing them playing together again, I really hope we can continue that. Like Lacazette, his energy is unbelievable. When he comes on, he's just 100% for the entire time. He scores. Fucking love it.
And I think that Arsenal fans, including yourself, Rory, I think that they need just like last year, I remember like shite performances and incredible performances, mostly shite, but also like these sparks of incredible performances. And I think that for the sake of their well-being and mindset, Arsenal fans just need a streak of positive results. Nothing exceptional, because then you start dreaming a little too much. So I just think that they need to see that their team is consistent, that you can beat the likes of the Norwiches, the Aston Villas, the West Hams and everything, and just like build your confidence on that one, because otherwise, like, big win and the shite performances is just gonna like get your hopes up and then shatter them all of a sudden. But maybe, as you said, undefeated in 8 games, maybe something is moving there. Rory, also good job for predicting the future. On Friday's pod, you said if you enjoy watching goals from only one team, then you should watch Chelsea Norwich.
How did I do it? It's a mystery.
7-0, and Mason Mount is the first player to score a Chelsea hat-trick ever since Eden Hazard at the Stamford Bridge. Andy, Mason Mount, what do we think about this youngster?
I think he's one of those players that he doesn't normally get the credit he deserves, because he is very much he's not a flashy player. You're not going to see him doing step-overs and Hollywood passes and stuff like that. But he's a bit like Jordan Henderson in the way that he will do exactly what a manager asked him to do to the T. That's why Gareth Southgate trusts him, and that's why Tuchel trusts him. He'll do what needs to be done. If he needs to press, he'll do it. And he's got a good shot on him as well. Like when you look at those little pockets of space outside the area, he can hit them. I think he should probably do it a little bit more for England, but he does contribute all over the place. And all right, there's players like Grealish who might have more flair, but like I said, He's probably a manager's player, if that makes sense. You've seen it with the likes of like Fernandinho over the years. If I go back to really old United days, the likes of sort of John O'Shea and Darren Fletcher, like you just need certain players in your squad that can carry out a very specific set of instructions, and you don't really notice them unless they're absent from the team. So when Mason Mount isn't playing for Chelsea, you can sort of tell. But I mean, it has to be said though, like, what's the fucking point of Norwich?
Oh, I'm so done with them. I think, like, at this point, I would say they need to win the championship 2 years in a row to get promoted. Just don't promote them next time. You have to prove that your squad is going to be anywhere near the ability of putting up a fight. Like how.
I'm going to ask you guys.
Sorry,
I cut you off, but it seems fitting because in Italy, a lot of people were talking about this weekend. 18 teams versus 12 teams. Would you be in favor in the Premier League?
Yeah, because I think there's so many teams, there's quite a few teams in the Premier League which have no ambitions of furthering themselves, are just happy to be in the Premier League. Teams like West Brom and Norwich are just happy to go up and down, knowing they'll get their £80 million TV money and the increased great receipts. They'll have a couple of players that sell on for 30 odd million quid when they get relegated, and they just rinse and repeat. There just doesn't seem to be the ambition to do more. And finances isn't that much of an excuse, because you see what Brentford do in terms of making the most out of their resources, of being ambitious. It is possible to be on the budget. And
Leeds as well. Leeds don't spend a lot of money. They do not spend a lot of money.
No. I say Burnley as well. I've been thinking they're going to go down every single year.
No, but the discussion was lifted in Italy on a lot of pages that I followed this weekend. They were just like, we need an 18-team revolution, because it's just like, it doesn't make sense. What are you going to do in Serie A if you cannot guarantee at least one upset throughout the season? I'm thinking, of course, about Salernitana in Italy, but it's just like, it's also sad to see. So once you see that you lose 8 games in a row, what are your ambitions for the rest of the year? Like, even the players who play for that team, they are not going to grow. They are going to learn the philosophical aspects of defeat every single fucking weekend. But it's also detrimental for them. It would be much better for them to play in Serie B in a competitive league that allows them to stay on top of their shape and all that. But Rory, moving on from Chelsea, Norwich, what are the other standout games for the weekend? I know that Mr. Ranieri had his first emphatic win in the Premier League.
Very, very quickly, yeah. Everton, and talking about teams that we don't know why they're here. Everton, I do not know what they are doing or what kind of purgatory they are stuck in, but this Rafa Benitez project, nobody really seems to be enjoying it. And Joshua King getting a hat trick against Everton, the club that barely played him, and Ancelotti completely refused him. I think it's great to see Ranieri get a win. The great stat from this is that Watford's last 5 Premier League games have all come under 5 different managers, which is incredible. But Everton continue to disappoint. And if you look at the table, they're on level points with United, Arsenal. They've got 14 points, I think. But somehow it still feels like they're having a terrible season.
Man, to me, Rafa Benitez's career ended in Istanbul. I think he made a pact with the devil, and they won that Champions League. And then you made a pact with the devil, dude. Don't look at me like that, Rafa. Like, you made the pact with the devil, and now you have to pay the consequences. The last decent spell that I remember was at Napoli, but that went.
They hated him as well, right? The fans.
Oh man, right after a bit, like he started, like, I don't know. I don't like Benitez. I think he's washed up now. Like, he's not a manager anymore. I might be too harsh, but when he was appointed at Everton, already a controversial move, I was like, this is not going to be any better than Ancelotti's Everton. Come on.
I think the only reason he took the Everton job is because the Newcastle one wasn't available. Because if you throw back to when that Newcastle takeover thing was in the process of happening last year, he was lined up to take that job. Newcastle fans loved him. He loved Newcastle. Thing with Benitez, he does connect with a passionate fan base. You know, the Liverpool fans still have a lot of love for him for what he did, and his family are still based in Liverpool. So I know he's got that investment, especially like in northern clubs. But yeah, the Everton was strange. But yeah, I heard it on another podcast today I was listening to, and I don't think anybody would particularly mind if Newcastle paid a good compensation fee for Benitez. He goes back to the club he probably wanted to go back to in the first place. Everton just pretend the last few months didn't happen, and they get somebody else in. And I genuinely think in that scenario, I know
everybody's happy.
Yeah, it would be very, very unusual. But I think it's one of those scenarios where everybody would be happy. A few million quid's got to change hands, but let's be honest, Newcastle are hardly short of it now. So take the money. Because I think
I think Benitez is just gonna wait until December 1st to play Liverpool, maybe get a win against Liverpool to like make it all spicy and shit, and then he's gonna go elsewhere. We shall see. But Rory, what were the other standout games in the Premier League this weekend before we move to Serie A?
Yeah, very quickly we'll go through. Well, the standout moment for me was the Holmesdale End fans at Crystal Palace holding up the banner against said Newcastle with a picture of their owner about to behead a magpie and a checklist of the Premier League owners' things. I thought that was an absolutely incredible thing from the Palace fans to do. And weirdly, some Newcastle fan reported it to the police as a racist banner. So the police are now investigating it.
It's not a racist banner. It's just like what the world is right now. I mean,
it's literally just facts on that banner.
But that's the thing, though. Newcastle fans have turned into exactly the same as Manchester City fans are. And it's literally sports washing in effect. They are defending their club left, right, and centre. And if you ask a Newcastle, I've done it myself on Twitter. If you ask a Newcastle fan, by the way, human rights, immediately they'll turn around to you and go, what about this? What about this? What about this? It's just constant whataboutism. And it's just pointless even engaging with them because they're just going to keep coming out. And you know what? Some of the actions of the Premier League are hypocritical. You can say that the takeover of Newcastle shouldn't have happened, but you can also say that the Premier League are hypocrites in what they do, such as blocking
100%.
Sponsorship deals, which the Premier League have done for the temporary basis just to stop the income and finance. Well, they could have done that at Man City 12 years ago, but they didn't. And you had Mike Ashley basically not even paying for sponsorship of the stadium. So if anything, they're undervalued. So you can understand why Newcastle fans are pissed in some ways, because the Premier League clubs are afraid of somebody else being at the top table. There's no denying that. But at the same time, they can't sit there and expect everybody not to pay attention to the looming goings on that happens in Saudi Arabia. That, when you take over a club in the most watched league in the world, there's going to be more scrutiny. And frankly speaking, people aren't going to stop talking about it. We're just going to have to get fucking used to it.
Yeah, well, this is it. No, I think you're absolutely right. And I hope it continues. I hope at every stadium this year they go to, there is a flag, there is a banner from the fans that says something, because we need to keep talking about it. And it's good to hear that the charges have been dropped on that banner. Thank God for that. And I did end up in an argument with a guy called Steve Smith, 567943321, with no picture on Twitter, who was saying all those things you said. Oh, but you're using Twitter. That's Saudi backed. You're a hypocrite. Oh, you're breathing oxygen. You're a hypocrite. I was like, they have turned quite quickly into it.
Guys,
but that's enough for the Premier League. I think, Tommy, we need to talk about Serie A at some point. Oh, also Spurs lost. There we go.
No, come on. And also, I think, guys, this is the end. It costs me a lot to say, but I think this is the end of Brighton and Hove Albion's title hopes. Guys, you've scored the goal that you needed after 3 games. But if we look at the standings, I think that the title right now, they're 7 points behind the Chelsea. Their next games are going to be against Leicester, Liverpool. I think it's going to be difficult, but I think teams should still fear the goal, the southeastern goal. Go Brighton and Hove Albion. And Rory, just a quick, come on. I'm not going to take that away from you. Just a few words on West Ham, Tottenham. Come on.
I love it. Like, there's been so much to talk about. I've not even had a chance to rub it into Spurs.
Yeah, you have to. Come on.
I love Michail Antonio. He's now scored in the last 3 games at the London Stadium against Tottenham Hotspur. He scores against them every time. And West Ham haven't conceded a goal in what feels like forever. Their defence is unbelievable. And I do not know what Nuno is trying to do at Tottenham. I don't know what he's trying to do. In the second half, the front 4 they had was Son, Kane, Moura, and Ndombele. They were behind, and they managed to not have a single shot. So I do not know what he is doing over there. But whatever it is, Nuno, keep it going. Please, just keep going. Keep going.
Guys, before we move on to Serie A, I've got a little trivia for both Andrew and Rory. In their last 11 games, how many goals have Ajax conceded across all competitions?
2.
I'm going to let you go first, Andy.
2.
Andy's saying 2.
I'm going to price of right you and say 3.
Andy's right. 2 goals conceded in their last 11 games, starting from their latest, which was yesterday, 5-0 win against PSV. I'm going to go backwards. They beat Borussia Dortmund 4-0, SC Heerenveen 2-0. They lost to Utrecht 1-0, and before that, 2-0 win, 3-0 win, 5-0 win, 9-0 win, 5-1 Champions League win to Sporting Lisbona, 2-0 win against Zwolle, 5-0 win, and the 1-1 against Twente in the Netherlands. In my opinion, this year's Champions League is going to be Bayern, Liverpool, and dark horse Ajax. I think that this team are going to go far. I haven't watched much of them, but just by looking at and it's not only in the Eredivisie, this is also in the Champions League. They keep banging goals. They don't concede any. It's looking great. Rory, where do you want to start in Serie A? Tell me.
Should we start with the painful one, Tommy? We'll get it out of the way for you. Should we start with Derby d'Italia?
Sip of my beer, and then let me get angry real quick. All right, I'm ready. Fuck this shit. All right, Inter Milan have to stop giving away games like that. I am sick of Simone Inzaghi's substitutions between the 60th minute and the 70th minute. Simone, you know football better than I do. You know that there are still 30/20 minutes to play, especially if you're playing against Juventus, who are no mugs. They're fucking thieves and annoying people. You know that as soon as you make a substitution, you start from playing Gagliardini. Who went out for Gagliardini? Let me check again. You play Gagliardini instead of Calhanoglu. Calhanoglu had a very good game for the first time in a few games. You replace Gagliardini with him. Then you substitute at the 72nd minute. This is always happens. Lautaro Martinez out, Alexis Sanchez in. And you're basically spreading your butt cheeks for Juventus to start fucking you in the ass. These people, man, I'm going to get to Juventus, but first I got to analyze what Inter did. These people are just going to get the message. Okay, they're playing weaker players. We are going to fucking push. You do not take... Our next game is against the fucking Udinese. Who are we playing next? Our next game is against Empoli. Are you telling me that you are resting Lautaro Martinez for 20 minutes because he needs his energy to play against Empoli? Dude, that's the game that you're going to start Alexis Sanchez in. But don't sub one of our main attacking threats at the 72nd minute. We needed a second goal for the entirety of the game, but it felt like the team, but especially the staff, they were very comfortable with a 1-0 win. Guess what? It's not going to happen against Juventus. Juventus are going to find a way to bite you in the ass. And guess what that way was this time around? Fucking with VAR. Now, this is bullshit. All right, I have to say one thing. If Inter didn't score their second goal, that's only Inter's fault. If Inzaghi made those substitutions, that's only Inzaghi's fault. And yesterday, I didn't even dwell on the penalty issue too much. Rory is a witness, because I said, if they review that, that is a penalty. It's somebody kicking somebody else in the box. What is it if not a penalty? But now, hear this out. The referee, you can read his lips when there is the contact. He goes, yes, Dumfries was an idiot. I agree. But you can look at the referee's lips and he goes, no contact. And he lets the play unfold. Then he's called up by VAR to review that. And he gives the penalty because it's a penalty. But wait a second. Last year, when Cuadrado dived, what do you say? Dived? Yeah. Dived big time against Perisic. That was a dive. The referee awarded the penalty. What was the narrative on Italian newspapers? Even if the referee was wrong, VAR cannot fucking intervene because the referee has already taken a decision. But this time around, the narrative is different. So I'm even glad that they awarded the penalty because we would have won a game that we didn't deserve to win. But what is the fucking rule about VAR? And why, since I follow football, all of these decisions always go to Juventus's favor? Last night, I didn't even realize it, but today I start reading in the newspapers, I start putting things together, and I'm fucking fuming. About the team itself, Inter, well, Juventus are a shame, in my opinion. They're supposed to be Italy's greatest team, and their manager, Allegri, said it was a great game, a great result. We are going to keep nibbling points away throughout the season. Are you Juventus or are you fucking Empoli? Like, I'm going to be nibbling points from other teams the entire season. That's my bid on Inter Juventus.
But Tommy,
I'm not going to go back to that one.
But Tommy, this is a club, and like this is finally the anger about Juventus I wanted to see because they're awful. But like, this is a team and a club and an atmosphere. Everything about it, the culture about it, is just about getting just a points, nothing else, no decoration, no nuance. It's just, did we get points? Yes or no? Did we get points? Yes or no? And it is, they are the least, like, they just suck the life out of you, and they'll suck the life out of the league, and they'll suck the life out of the teams they're playing against. I think, look, Inter really do need to learn to finish their chances.
True. 100%.
Dumfries was useless when he came on. He was just running around, barreling into people, and like no discipline whatsoever. And I think sometimes he gets a bit too hot-headed. And I've seen it a few times where he's just flying into people like, mate, calm down. Right, yes, it's an important game, but fucking stay on the pitch. And I feel like he was, from the minute he came on, I was like, he's going to do something stupid. So I think Yeah, it was unfortunate, but Inzaghi's substitutions, you're right again. It just seemed like he was waving the white flag and going, right, here we go. Like, here's your chance. It was.
Did you have a chance to watch parts of the game?
I did watch a full game. I caught some of the highlights. I mean, I thought the effort for Çalhanoğlu was absolutely filthy. But we've seen him over the years. We know he can hit him from range. That deserved a goal in itself. And I think Dzeko has been an able replacement for Lukaku. I mean, of course, it was 6 goals in 8 home games. I think it was necessary business to sell Lukaku and get Dzeko to what amounted on a very literally transfer fee. Came with a free, didn't he? More or less. God, his wages probably big, so he's done that. Yeah. But yeah, I thought I've seen those decisions in the Premier League go either way, but I've seen enough Italian football to know that referees don't need much encouragement to give the decision Juve's way. It was soft, but it was also stupid, and I think both of those things can be true. And I thought, Perisic had a really good chance 1-on-1 where maybe the Perisic of 3-4 years ago would have buried that in the corner. Where he had that chance, alone on goal, cut in. You'd expect him to get it on target. But yeah, I think settling for 1-0 against the Juve team, they are relentless. They just keep pushing. And this isn't a vintage Juve side, really, is it?
No, and
it really isn't.
I loved how in the first... I showed you the meme yesterday, Rory. So in the first half, Federico Bernardeschi gets injured. Allegri can replace him with the most attacking players of all time. You've got the Chiesas, you've got all the other ones, and he goes for Rodrigo Bentancur. This is what Juventus are this year. But I would say that it pisses me off what Allegri said, but it's very honest. We're just like, our goal this year is nibbling points away from other teams. That's Juventus for you.
And they'll win it, man. They'll win it. And we'll all have to just sit and fucking watch it. Like, it's just... I hate them. I hate them so much.
Let me move on to another game, which we didn't really pay attention to, but upon seeing the highlights was pretty spectacular. Rome against Napoli. Roma are the first team able to stop Napoli from getting a win. The game ends goalless. However, there were chances on both sides. Roma's defenders really came through in Mourinho style when they needed to slide in, get that ball out from the goal. They did so. Napoli went very close to the goal a few times, but unfortunately, nobody was able to break the deadlock, not even Tammy Abraham, who had a very, very good chance. But I think he just needs a goal because recently he hasn't been getting any. He just needs a goal to find his confidence. But I have to say one thing about Roma. Despite that loss in the Europa League, which we haven't covered yet, and it was absolutely nuts. Besides that loss in the Europa League, that was kind of a B squad and everything. Well, we need to mention it. Andrew is laughing big time. Andrew, what do you think about that loss in the Europa League?
Oh man, I just thought it was hilarious. Like it's a point worth raising though. Like, I see it a lot with English sides in Europe, especially basic bitch Europe, as I like to call it, the Europa League, or basic bitch Europe, as the Europa Conference League is. Like when your manager, you could tell whether your manager cares about a competition or not, and when your manager is picking virtual reserve sides and not really caring about the result and things like that, it feeds onto the players in the pitch. And that's why you get performances like that, because on ability alone, we should be losing 6-0 to Bodo Glimt. They just shouldn't. But I think sometimes there's this culture of it's okay. Fine, they've been beaten 6-0, but is that going to really massively impact their season? Probably not.
I think Mourinho is even a bit more evil than that. He kind of wanted to, I think he was satisfied to lose this game 6-1 so he could just lag off the players who were on the pitch. Like Gonzalo Villar, I know this very well because I got him in fantasy football. Rory, we're going to get to fantasy football. Don't worry. But I got him in fantasy football, but he just lagged him off completely. And I think he wanted him to have a shit performance in fucking 5 degrees below weather just to tell him that's the reason why you don't start for Roma. But that said, I think that Roma put up a good game against Napoli, and they are, matter of fact, the only team able to not get scored against by Napoli and to prevent them from getting a win. So Napoli right now are first in the league together with AC Milan on even points. They've got a higher goal difference, but ladies and gentlemen, I do not think that AC Milan are title contenders. Just like last season, our friend Michael said, at some point they're going to be found out. They were. I think something is going to happen because everything is going their way. And if it's not the penalties, it's the red cards for the other team, which were rightfully awarded in the Bologna game. But even then, man, they struggled to score the 3-2. They struggled to score the 4-2. In the end, they win the game. But there is always, it feels like a favorable decision. And when there isn't, I don't know, the opposition player just does something stupid in the box. They're awarded a penalty and they win. AC Milan have been winning games, in my opinion, that they shouldn't have won. I'm not talking specifically about the Bologna one, but I don't see them going in the long run. They've been found out in the Champions League already. I think it's just a matter of time before they get found out in the Italian league. And the injuries can be an excuse up to a point. But I don't think when I look at Napoli and when I look at AC Milan, I don't think that they've got the same way of playing. They've got the same mindset. They've got the same drive. I think Napoli are by far the best Italian team, followed by AC Milan, and in third place, Inter Milan. But I don't think that AC Milan are going to be pushing much, much longer.
You're hoping. I'm not convinced by that. I think that a lot of their players seem to be stepping up a little bit. Players like Tonali, Tomori, these players seem to be getting...
Say the name, Rory, of the player you hate. Rafael Leao.
Oh, Leao is actually fairly consistently doing things now, so maybe I have to eat a bit of humble pie.
Leao could
I think
score.
a few of the young players are starting to a little bit get a little bit of
Leao could score a hat trick in 3 minutes, and Rory would still text me dude, I don't know about Leao, not convinced. And I'm like, Rory, trust me, it's not either Messi or Bentner. There is a way in between, and also Bentner.
I'm still not convinced. There's something about him where I'm like, you're fluking this. I'm not sure how you're playing for AC, but anyway.
I suppose it shows persistence, though, doesn't it? Because Leao is always quite inconsistent for AC Milan, and also Tonali as well. He went, he went to AC Milan with a big reputation from his time at Brescia, and I think sometimes everyone expects players to fit in seamlessly from day one, and in reality, that doesn't always happen. But you're seeing him now, getting lots of starts, lots of game time, fitting into the squad really well, and I think. AC Milan are sort of beneficiaries of that, and that is partly due to getting the most out of your squad. But they have got some tough games coming up, though, haven't they? Obviously, they've got Roma in a few days' time. They've got to obviously.
They've got in a row. I was just checking right now. They've got Roma, Porto, AC Milan, Inter Milan, and Fiorentina, and then Sassuolo.
And they've got Atletico Madrid away in the Champions League as well in between all of that. So that I think that group of fixtures is when you go, right, now we'll see whether they're really contenders or not. Because I guess at the moment you can argue they're beating the teams they're supposed to be beating. With the exception of the Atalanta match and the Lazio game, they've played. They've probably got them before. They've got the results they should be getting. So we'll see.
And before we get to Rory's success in FantaCalcio, wait a second. We're almost there, Rory. We're going to end the episode with that.
I'm ready.
Guys, go check out Simeone's hat-trick +1. Simeone's haul, as Rory told me yesterday. Yeah. 4 goals against Lazio. And they are nice. The second one especially, half volley.
That half volley was absolutely disgusting.
Boom. It's beautiful. Lazio need to ask themselves a few questions. Why can they beat Roma and Inter, but they fall short by 3 goals against Bologna and Verona? The Sarri way is not working quite yet. A very disappointing team so far in Serie A, in my opinion, has been Atalanta. Atalanta were winning the game 1-0 against Udinese. Gasperini made some funny changes, and the Atalanta fans, seem to be really mad, both at him and Miranchuk. The Russian has not been playing well. Matter of fact, when he stepped on the pitch against Manchester United, that's when things started going south. Muriel is still not top of his shape, and both of them in the game against Udinese, they underperformed, and at the end, Udinese were able to score because of a situation that started from a Miranchuk mistake, while another very good game full of great goals, Fiorentina, Cagliari 3-0. Now the headline goes to the fact that Vlahovic, upon refusing to sign a contract extension, he was booed by a section of the Fiorentina fans before the game and during the game. When a penalty was awarded to Fiorentina, he talked to the team captain, Cristiano Biraghi, and said, I don't feel like taking the penalty. And man, let's talk about Biraghi for a second, because Biraghi was not supposed to take the penalty. But when Vlahovic told him, he puts the ball down and he absolutely slams it in. If this wasn't enough, in the second half, Fiorentina are awarded a penalty kick right outside the edge of the box, and Vlahovic, in Italian we say he paint brushes it into the top corner, pennellata sotto all'incrocio. It was absolutely beautiful, and I love to see that despite the Fiorentina fans can be very tough to handle, but I love to see that he had a safe place where he could celebrate, which was the bench, the manager, and all of his teammates. And he really went there. And let's not forget that he's a young guy. He's like 20 or 21 years old. We've almost seen him in tears already when people were singing those racist chants to him. And here, there was a moment with Vincenzo Italiano, the manager, where they really hugged. He whispered him something in the ears, and I was like, man, if I were a footballer, I would love to have a manager like that gets it backs me up in those moments. And finally, what else?
Empoli Salernitana was absolute madness.
Empoli Salernitana was beautiful, especially for the fact Empoli Salernitana was beautiful because Empoli were winning 3-0 at the end of the first half. Then they're awarded a penalty, and Andrea Pinamonti, Inter player on loan at Palermo, he decides to take the penalty as he wishes with a Panenka kick, and he scores it, and the Salernitana goalkeeper, he started chasing him
after him, did he?
Yeah, he tried to get him, and then the Empoli players shielded Pinamonti, and even the Salernitana players were just like, dude, just fucking leave him alone. And I'm like, dude, it's a way of taking a penalty like any other, and it's the important is that you score. And I mean, if I was a forward, I would love to score a Panenka penalty at least once in my lifetime. But yeah, go for it.
I was going to say, I think there has to be a Wojciech Szczesny award for shit goalkeeping. It was the if you saw the Lazio goal, the keeper Montipo. Oh my god, that was
such a good save, man.
It was just went straight through him. It's just dreadful goalkeeping. That's the only reason why Lazio got on the score sheet. The crossbar and I'm calling it the Wojciech Szczesny goalkeeping awards.
But guys, before we talk very briefly about Rory being first in FantaCalcio, I remind you that this week we've got midweek action in Serie A. Tomorrow there are a few relegation battles as Spezia take on Genoa and Venezia take on Salernitana. Both games at 6:30 on Tuesday, and at night we've got AC Milan against Turin. On Wednesday, it's Juventus Sassuolo, Sampdoria Atalanta, Udinese Verona, Cagliari Roma, Empoli Inter, and the big one is probably going to be Lazio Fiorentina, while on Thursday, the current table leaders Napoli take on Bologna, a team whom have made it hard for all the other big teams they faced. And now, Rory, the closing few minutes are dedicated to you for the first time in 3 years. Leading the standings in Italian FantaCalcio. You won by 1 miserable point this weekend. How did it feel to wake up this morning and see that you were top of the table?
I thought it was going to be a draw, and then I was literally in the middle of my class today, and I was like, oh, crap, I best check my fantasy. Looked at it and was like, yes, I won 2-1. So, yeah, top of the table. Grealish, better than Chiesa FC, are currently top of the table. And
how many points did you get?
So it's worked out, Tommy. You'll have to explain how it's worked out. I got 71 points and they got 70, but that equaled a 2-1 win somehow.
No, so basically you get with the 66 points, you get one goal with 7, and then every 6 points you get another goal. So 72, 78. Rory won 72-71, which means a 2-1 win. But I would be lying if I said that I've never won that way. But Rory, what is going to happen midweek?
Well, the biggest fixture midweek is me and Tommy finally face off in fantasy to see if I can hold on to the top spot. So I'm hoping that Osimhen doesn't score again and Chiesa finally scores. It feels like he's not scored in a while. I'm waiting for him to do something.
Of course, he's going to score against me. But guys, we've run over time. We hope you enjoyed the show. Andrew, any last thing, anything else to tell our listeners?
No. It's a short answer to that, but it's been an absolute pleasure.
Maybe to follow your podcast, you can give all the ads that you want.
Oh yeah, I've got a Hopeless Boss Man on the YouTube comments, haven't I? So yeah, follow the Hopeless Wandere podcast. We're awesome.
There we go. There's that ticked.
They're good. They're good. Check them out. Good. Remember to follow us on Twitter at Italian Anglopod, on Instagram at Anglo-Italian Pod, and also to follow our sponsor at Sports Club Maps. Rory, anything else to say?
No, just Forza, Chiesa. No, Grealish, Melio da Chiesa. That's it.
Guys, we will let you know how the match day between me and Rory goes. We're going to talk to you again on Friday for another episode of the Anglo-Italian Pod. Thanks to Chris, Steve, and Old Boys from the Hopeless Wandere podcast for joining us today. This is it. Talk to you on Friday. Bye-bye.